Hey YouTube, it's Adrian. Just before we get you to this video, do me a favor and head over to pageantlaunch.com. We are starting the world's first dedicated pageant review site, and I would love for you to join our launch team. All you need to do is put in your email address. It's completely free. We are looking to make a pageant industry that is safe, transparent, and fair. I know it's like that most of the time, but over the last year, it's become very evident that it's not like that all of the time. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, put in your email address, and let's get you to this.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Davies. I'm Miss Global Wales, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hi everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and I have with me Emma Davies, who's Miss Global Wales 2019. Emma, welcome to the show finally.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You've survived. We were just talking about some academic hurdles, shall we say. So can you catch us up to date? I mean, I have interviewed both your sister queens. I'm just checking I haven't lied about that, right? So I've interviewed Freya, and I've interviewed Ashley. So lucky last, you're lucky last. Can you catch us up with what's happened from being crowned originally Miss Grand to now being Miss Global and then surviving a dissertation and to where you are now? Catch us up in the last few months. It sounds manic.
Well, it's definitely been a manic couple of months. I know Freya and Ashley have gone into great detail about what happened with Grand. Considering things, it was what it was, and our director was so supportive in finding the best solution for us. The UK government issued it a non-essential travel zone, so it just wasn't practical really for us to go out there, and our security and our safety was just paramount. So it was a really hard decision. We all had worked tremendously towards the final. And it was heartbreaking, really, when we discovered that we weren't going to go. At the back of my mind, when I won, I did have this kind of little niggle. It being in Venezuela, because I was aware of the political crisis that was happening. But yeah, when we were told officially that it wasn't happening, it was really hard, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to compete anywhere else, or if it even was an option, and it was very disheartening. But moving forward, we worked together to look at what were the best options for us at the time, and I think it was actually Freya that suggested Global, and the more we looked into it, the more we researched it, and almost going forward, I would say in modern society, what it stands for in terms of empowering women, cultural diversity appreciation, giving women a voice, embodying the beauty from within. And I think that's something we all really kind of appreciated straight away at face value, and it's all something that we knew we wanted to be involved with. So it was almost a dream come true when this new system came our way, that we all shared the same ethos and the same goals. So it was really great. Alongside all of that, as you know, I was finishing my dissertation. So I'd been working along like that with pageants for a couple of months. So it was a great topic. It was about the effects of emotional labour in the hospitality industry, because I was previously a hotel manager.
Right.
So in terms of display rules, how that can affect individuals having to display these false emotions internally and externally. So it was a really interesting project, but I'm glad it's over. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it was really thought-provoking, and I get my grades back December for that. So
right, okay.
Yeah, great.
So you get your grades back just before you head to Mexico?
Yes, the end of December, and then we're flying on the 4th or the think. Yeah, or maybe a little bit of that. But yeah, so it'll either be a happy Emma or a very sad
I was
Emma.
going to
at the
say
airport.
you're going to get either a really great Christmas present or the worst Christmas present ever.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a long wait because I submitted the dissertation. I think it was Friday the 13th of September.
That's so appropriate.
It really is. So yeah, I could remember that date. Yeah, for sure. That's ingrained in my brain. Yeah.
Just the topic of your dissertation, was it about people in the hospitality industry having to pretend they were happy? Is that what it was?
Yes, yes.
Even under extreme emotional stress and
Mhm.
sleep deprivation?
Yeah, yeah. So it's an industry with very high turnover.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
interesting.
well, that basically sounds like my life for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So did you come to any conclusions? I mean, when you do a dissertation, obviously there's a lot of
Yeah.
research. So did you come up with any particular conclusions or even solutions? Because more than a few of the pageant girls will be working in hospitality, and pageantry itself takes up so much time. Working the hospitality industry is a double blow. You get no sleep. So any solutions or any conclusions?
The results overall were very mixed, actually, and they were
Mm.
quite surprising. Those who were younger actually conformed more and still had elements of job satisfaction and less burnout than those who were older. So that kind of contradicted the literature a little bit there. But overall, there were, from most people that I interviewed, there were elements of burnout, but job satisfaction was high. So what really came through was that social support was a really big element. So being supported by management and being supported by your fellow colleagues was a really big element that helped people get over this kind of forced display rules as such. So yeah, there's a few recommendations that I've put in my dissertation. So if you ever want to read it, you're more than welcome to. I can send it across.
I mean, in all honesty, it sounds like an area that I actually would be interested to see what the research says. Did you go in at all to mental health? Because I imagine that has to be a gigantic aspect of it as well.
Yes, I did. Yeah, there was a few elements where people had raised that they did, because of X, Y, and Z, feeling these certain emotions, that it did cause them to feel burnout. It did feel them to cause mentally exhausted from work, and they did bring that home. So these interviews were taken across a few hotel chains.
Right. And you said you interviewed them. Did you interview them via word, via voice, or how did you actually do the interview?
In person.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Did you enjoy interviewing people? I'm sure with pageantry, it normally feels like you're being interviewed. How did it feel like to interview the other person for a change?
It's fine. It's fine. At the moment, I'm a HR officer, so the goal is to become a HR manager. So interviewing people is quite second nature to me, really. So
yeah. You'll be comfortable from both sides of the spectrum then. All right, guys, you're watching. If you have any questions or any messages of support for Emma having survived her dissertation, leave them in the comments below. She can't see them, but I will pass them on. We've had Emma Hanley say, "Hi, Emma." Sam Davies has sent you a sparkly heart. Shirley James has said hello. And the first name of the night that I'm going to butcher, Ronya Muln Richards. Welsh names and all these other names. I'm like, oh God, please stop.
No, that's a Swedish name. Ronya's Swedish.
Oh, this is not fair. Oh God. She said, love your hair straight.
Oh, thanks.
So, Emma, why don't we start with the easy question? Why don't we go to the pageantry background? Because, as I often mention, I've interviewed people who've done one pageant. I've interviewed people who've done over 30 of the things. So fill us in with how you got started in pageantry and what your experience has been so far.
Okay. So it started many years ago. So I'm 26 now. and I
Don't say that like that means you're so old. It's
It
like,
does
oh,
in pageant terms. It really does, unfortunately.
that's true.
Yeah, so I entered my first pageant when I was 17, and I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for. It was a regional for Miss World Wales. So previously, a few years ago, you had to win your regional to get through to Miss World Wales,
Right.
but they do it slightly different now.
Yeah.
So with a bit of support from family, friends, and others, I went forward for it, and somehow I was lucky enough to win on my first attempt. And then I went forward to Miss Wales then, so that was 2011. Yeah. So I had a really great time, really good experience. And then I went to university, and I wanted to put my time and my effort into my university study. So I took quite a few years out actually then after that. And I think I ended up going back when I was about 21. So that was for the Power pageant originally. So that was my first time competing in one of Holly's pageants. One of my really good friends, Sarah Evans, was a title holder at the time for Holly. She was Miss Intercontinental Wales, and she encouraged me to enter. There was a period then where I went back to Miss Wales, and I placed in the top 5 for Miss World Wales. Wow. I then went to Galaxy, and I won Miss Galaxy Wales. I competed in America then, and then I went back to the Power pageant last year. No, this year? Yeah, this year. And then
I can't help you. I've never seen anyone look like, anyway, they're struggling so much to remember their pageantry experience. So, on the spot, how many pageants have you competed in?
Overall, I think about 4 different systems.
Right.
So, yeah, I had runner-up syndrome a little bit, so I returned. So that's why I get confused with the dates.
I've never heard of runner-up syndrome before. It's funny, but as soon as you say it, I know exactly what you mean.
So anyone out there that has runner-up syndrome, don't give up.
Well, you don't have it now.
No.
How does it feel to be rid of this syndrome?
Great, but being a runner-up still is good. It still is good.
I'm sure it is. I mean, it's got to be bittersweet, though. I mean, getting so close, yet it must seem so far as well.
Yeah.
So what got you interested in pageants to start? Because it sounds like you've got a pretty full-on life as it is. So it obviously wasn't, you had nothing better to do with your time. So what drew you into pageantry to start? And is it the same thing that keeps you in pageantry now?
Interesting question. Originally, like I said, I didn't quite know what I was putting myself forward for. I think there's always this stereotype, isn't there, about pageants and you think it's going to be. And I was approached by friends and family and other members to go forward for it. I knew the title holder for Miss Monmouthshire at the time, and she was a lovely, lovely girl, and she was really encouraging me to go forward for it, and it kind of just went from there, really. But I think having the platform, any platform, is absolutely great, and it's what you can do with it. For me, volunteerism is a really big part of why I love pageants, because it gives you that platform to be seen, to help others, to push it in terms of the media. So you're really fortunate in that way. You get to meet so many incredible women who you've never or might not have the opportunity to meet in any other respect of your life. And everything that we do in terms of fundraising, in terms of appearances, in terms of volunteering work, I can go on with the list. And I think anyone who's been to a pageant and could look at what any of the contestants have done, even before stepping onto that stage, that's a very, very small part. And that's kind of what keeps me here.
Can we talk about, we were mentioning before we went live, the Sleepout, or what did you, the exact term? I mean, I'll let you fill us in on the detail, the Sleepout. And you did that last night. I can't imagine it was super warm. So can you catch us up on the details of that?
Yeah, so I'm an ambassador for Help the Homeless Newport and Cardiff. So that's a community initiative to help those vulnerable across South Wales. So the director, Taz, and the director, Debbie, they're really great, and they organised the Sleepout. So it was supposed to replicate just part of what it's like to sleep rough on the streets. So we slept in a doorway, an empty doorway in the centre of Newport town. And for those who don't know, Newport is Newport. It's not the most affluent of areas.
Right.
So it was really mixed emotions going into it. I knew physically there'd be challenges in terms of it just being cold and wet and typical Wales.
Yep.
But mentally, I just wasn't aware of how exhausting it was going to be, and it was just a real eye-opener. It makes you appreciate things, and it puts things into perspective for you. We met so many individuals who, obviously I won't disclose their names,
the elements, of course,
but their stories were just, I was in tears honestly most of the night. And I think people have this false perception that person is on the streets because of X, Y, and Z, or maybe drug abuse or alcohol abuse. And a lot of their problems have actually stemmed from childhood and what's happened to them and how they've got there. And what really put into motions was that there does seem to be a gap in the system at the moment of how someone can get off the streets and how someone can get back on their feet. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of community initiatives out there, but there does seem to be that gap. And it does need to be, I would say, a cooperative element instated to help. But what was interesting was the homeless community was so supportive of what we were doing. One homeless man even came across and gave one of our group members their duvet. They have next to nothing, and he was still giving this duvet because he could see that one of the ladies was cold. And that just really warms your heart. And the general public, we didn't have any signs, so we had one sign, but I had a few people walk past and actually just stare at me and stop and stare, and I actually felt like an animal, and it was heartbreaking. And then others would come across and scream and yell things, and you can't be homeless if you've got an iPhone, and it just makes you really realize the abuse that these homeless people can go through, and it does break your heart. And I think there's a lot of ignorance in this world. I think doing initiatives like that really opens up public perception and public eyes. So I think more needs to be done.
What was the hardest part of the Sleepout for yourself?
I think, well, I didn't even think I would sleep, in all honesty, but I think I slept for about half an hour, and it was that feeling, even though I was in a group and I was very safe, I just felt like I couldn't sleep because I just didn't feel safe. And I can't imagine, for instance, we took it very authentically, so we didn't have toilets or anything along those lines. So in the harsh reality is of it, what would you do if you were placed in that situation? You have no money, you have nowhere to sleep. What would you do? How would you go about that? And I know that the group and I are looking in the future to do it for a weekend to see how we would cope. And a lot of the homeless girls that I spoke to, I asked them, I said, what do you do to go to the toilet? Because everything's shut in the town centre, really, for you to go to the toilet. And especially for a woman, I think, to go to the toilet, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's, and they said to me that, we just stopped drinking at 6 o'clock in the evening because they just don't want to have to,
Yeah.
So it really does put into perspective how you would handle it. And I think we all do take things for granted. And I would encourage anyone, if they wanted to see the true reality of it, to give it a go. And if anyone does want to, I know that we will be doing it again. Like I said, we're going to do it for a weekend to see how we cope and the realities of it. So if anyone does want to join the initiative in Wales, you're more than welcome to. Just drop me a message.
How did you get involved with the organisation to begin with?
So it was from social media, actually. The head of the Newport division, Taz, he's such an inspiration. We were at the Garvo Volunteer Awards a couple of weeks ago, and he won a great award, and it just showed his dedication for the community, especially Newport. And we also won highly commended, in the group section for our initiatives in the local area. So that was really, really great. So yeah, it's just social media, really, and everyone's welcome.
Social media being put to good use by the sound of it. Now, Ronya has asked, I'm just going to the Facebook comments, what are you looking forward to most about Global?
Can't wait. Ronya's my best friend, so she knows how much I've always wanted to go to Mexico. So that's just a win-win. There's so many elements I'm looking forward to. I think experiencing the Mexican culture, meeting new women from across the world, kind of making a difference together. I can't wait. I don't think there's just one element really that I can pinpoint. It's all just going to be amazing. So I just can't wait.
Why in particular Mexico? What has fascinated you about Mexico?
Because Ronya always goes and says how amazing it is and always makes me jealous. So she knows.
I see. So it's FOMO that's basically inspiring you.
Yeah, not gonna lie. Yeah, Ronya's ending up in Mexico for her honeymoon, which is in March. So she's got lots of lovely things planned.
Right. Okay. Speaking of Global, when you do head over there it's only a couple of months' time now. It's already October, late October. When you do head over there, do you have any particular goals in terms of how you'd like to do at the pageant? Or is it just a case of going over there, doing your best? What will be, will be?
I think that's an interesting question. For me, I'm the type of person that I always like to set myself personal goals, whether that's professional or like I said, personal, hobby-wise. But for me, it is about going out there, doing the best that I can, making the most of the experience, and just enjoying myself and representing Wales to the best of my abilities. So, yeah.
So you have represented Wales on the international stage before, right? Because you said you represented Galaxy, represented Wales and Galaxy. So I've asked more the Scottish girls this. I've never spent any time in Scotland. I have spent some time in Wales. But when you go overseas to represent Wales, what are the things that, the Australians bring, as cliche as it sounds, koalas and Vegemite? What's the Welsh equivalent of the koalas and Vegemite?
So when I went across to Galaxy, I took little Welsh love spoons. So that's quite iconic of Wales. But I
know what you're talking about. Yeah, the love spoons. I remember them.
Yeah.
And the top means one thing, the shaft means another, and the shape of the head.
Yeah,
I remember those.
Symbolic. But I think everyone always thinks of the dragon.
Yeah.
And sheep. And sheep. Yeah, take that as you will. My national costume is going to be very interesting.
I hope it's not sheep. It's not a sheep, is it?
How did you guess? No.
I've seen white and green and red and dragon and emblazoned. Yeah, that's probably more majestic than going on stage as a sheep.
Yeah, it's not a sheep, unfortunately, or a Welsh cake. I know a few people wanted me to go as a Welsh cake.
What's a Welsh cake?
It's like, how do I explain it? I'll have to send you.
Is it actually a cake?
It's a
first off?
cake. It's like a
Okay.
cake. It's like made of, I don't know. But it's like sugar and currants. So it's really, yeah. But I will have to
Currants.
send you some.
Okay.
They're nice.
Okay, all right, because reminds me of the first time, I don't know if you know the term sweetbreads, but when I heard
Yeah,
the term sweetbreads for the first time, I thought, oh, that sounds really nice. And then I found out
yeah.
it's all these throat glands, and yeah, it's like, okay. So when you said Welsh cake, I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
It's it's probably a bit too soon to ask, but for some reason I feel compelled to ask you. It's coming to the end of 2019. Obviously, global is right at the beginning of 2020. So once it comes to the end of global, whether you come first, whether you don't, what plans do you have past the end of global? Because you seemed like someone who's got a fairly
yeah.
set career path, or like you seem like someone who sets goals. So I just feel like I should ask you.
Well, since I finished my dissertation, I've been focusing quite a lot on my professional career.
Mm.
I've recently just got a job as a HR officer at a social enterprise. So that's a really rewarding career, because I'm not sure if you know what a social enterprise is, but
Yeah.
it's a business that, instead of investing its profits into its shareholders, it invests it into community initiatives.
Mm.
So that's something I'm really enjoying doing at the moment. And like I said, I do inevitably want to progress further and become a HR manager. In terms of volunteering, I still want to be putting all my time and effort into initiatives like Help the Homeless. And I'm hoping we can expand and grow and make a real difference in Wales with that. Not just with the homeless community, but those who are vulnerable across South Wales. And I know Taz and I know Deb have really big plans with that. So that's going to be very exciting going forward. In terms of my pageant career, I'm not
Mm.
sure yet what will happen with that. I'm enjoying every opportunity at the moment with Global, and I'm so excited for the final. So we will see afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in terms of my hobbies, I also show horses. So I've been able to compete at Horse of the Year show and the Royal International Horse Show with my mum. So we really want to get back into that next year, because I've taken some time
Oh,
off
wow.
to focus on pageants. So I know my mum's really, really keen to get back into horses, but you can't do everything. So yeah, that's what I see.
Tell me a bit more about what's involved with the horses, because I've
The horse.
not had any experience in that area. Though one of my friends won a pageant here, and the major sponsor was a horse products dealer. So I saw all these products that I thought were for hair care for a human. It turns out it was. I was like, why is the bottle so big? And then there are brushes and there's all these saddles. I was like, I don't understand. It's like, yeah, it's hair care for horses. But tell us more about this hobby, the horses.
Hey, so I've had horses and ridden horses basically all of my life. My mum did the same. So there's loads of photos of me as like 2 years old, sat on like a horse. We got loads.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's been a real family hobby. It's hard work showing
Mhm.
horses, but my mum and I love it. So like I said, we've been fortunate enough to have qualified. So, for instance, I'm not sure if you know about Horse of the Year show. It's probably the biggest show in the UK that you can get
Right.
to. It's like national level. That's as high as you could go really in the UK. So the sections that we show at, it was previously there could only be 10 horses to qualify
Mm-hmm.
for. So you'd have to win a county show to go forward. So across the whole UK. So obviously you can imagine these classes, you'd somehow have 30 to plus
Yeah.
horses in there. So to win that and then go forward to Horse of the Year show is a really big thing. And like I said, we've qualified a few times for Horse of the Year show with different horses. And we've actually won Horse of the Year show
Oh, wow.
in the young stock division. Yeah, it was one of the best experiences of my life. My mum and I went in there, and it was a new horse. He was only a baby, and we weren't thinking we were going to do very well. We were just going there for the experience. And I actually made friends with one of the stewards when I was walking round. And it's quite a funny story, really. And when they were reading out the results, I was kind of just looking around like, okay, it's not going to be me. Just smile and be happy. And the steward was mouthing to me, he's like, "You've won." And you stood quite close in a lineup. And I was looking like, oh, he must be talking, because there was horses, which are absolutely fantastic, next to me. And I was like, okay, well, he must be talking to one of them. So he's looking at me going, "You've won, you've won." And then they called out my name, and it was incredible. And you do your lap of honour, and it's really, really funny, because my mum actually ran into the ring, the show ring, and bear in mind there's security, and she actually, just because she didn't realise that I was going to win, and she pushed past everyone. She was in a hairnet. She gets really embarrassed about this now. So sorry, Mum. And she ran in and she just hugged me, and they got everything on film. So she regrets it a little bit now, but at the time, it was so worth it.
She's lucky the security didn't tackle her to the ground.
Oh, there was no stopping my mum. There was no stopping her. And she did the same when I won Miss Galaxy Wales. She came forward to the stage and was taking photos, and then ran away. So people were like, "Oh, there's Emma's mum," but she's great.
So when you say you show horses, what does that actually mean? Because the more you talk about it, it sounds kind of like pageantry for horses. I mean, you even have the victory lap. I mean, you do the victory lap, you have the victory. Is it, so when you say show horses, what does that actually entail?
We show horses in terms of in hand, so holding them, and then ridden. And when you show a horse, it's about appearance, but it's also about conformation and movement. So there are similarities with horse showing and pageants, but when things go wrong with horse showing, you can always blame it on your horse, but when it's you can't quite. You should
find pageantry super easy, because you're not being dragged around potentially by a horse.
Yeah. Well, they always do say you shouldn't work with horses. Well, animals, don't they? You can't.
They always say you shouldn't work with animals and children. Those are the two things you're not supposed to work with.
Yeah.
But I would assume when you're showing horses, you're not doing it in a gown and heels.
No, a lot. Yeah, comfier clothes.
That's fascinating. It literally just sounds like a pageant for horses.
Yeah.
Sam Davies, I assume, must be your mum, because of both the surname and the comment of that you've made her a very proud mummy with a smiley face.
You obviously didn't hear the hairnet story.
Well, you might have some issues after we hang up on the interview. Let's just say that. So, Emma, in terms of preparation for Global, I mean, you've been super busy, obviously, in the last couple of months. So how are preparations going for Mexico?
Preparations are going really well. My national costume, the design has just kind of been approved. So going forward with that, I'm really excited. It's very iconic of Wales, and I think you'll get it straight away when you see it. But I'm so excited. The designer who's making it, he's so talented. And I can't wait to see it. In terms of just general preparation, I think it's about making the most of the platform, like I said previously, kind of being the best ambassador I can possibly be for Wales, but also for Global as an organisation. So I really want to embody the competition, the values, what I previously stated, and I want to push that forward. So I want to make the most of my time. So just doing everything possibly that I can in the lead up, really. So yeah, busy.
So by the end of this year, sleep for you will be a distant memory, just as it is for me.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have any appearances planned out for the rest of the year?
Yes, I have quite a lot actually, but yeah, just follow my Facebook page and you'll get to see all those. There's a couple of judging opportunities, a couple of appearances, kind of the list really goes on, and I'm really excited for each and every one.
Nice. Just before we move to the final 10 questions, so we discussed at the beginning your pageantry experience. So you've had, give or take, a decade worth of experience.
Yeah. Oh, God, a decade.
When you say that, don't say that, it makes me feel so old. But you've had a few years breaks. You're experienced, you're not old. But in terms of some of the lessons that you've learned, that you've taken away for yourself from pageantry and self-development journey and things like that, what are the kind of major things that you've learned about yourself through your pageantry journey?
I think one of the main kind of lessons that I've learned, and I know this might sound cliche, is just to be yourself. I think in this day and age with social media, the list can go on. There's a lot of pressures to look and be a certain way or to achieve certain things at certain ages. And I think it's just to take a step back and appreciate yourself and love yourself for who you are, and not to conform to any idealistic images that you may think you should be or shouldn't be in pageants, and just be yourself. Because if you look at the queens across all systems, most of the queens who have won because they are, enthusiastically just themselves. And I could relay so many which really are. But I think, that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned.
Do you have any idea who would be sitting in front of me now if it hadn't been for pageantry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it would still be a similar person, but I do think that pageants have shaped me and helped me to be the person that I am today. And I think, like I said, I am very goal-orientated, and pageants do push you. And I think they do help you to bring out the best side of yourself. And yeah.
Okay. So before the final 10 questions, anyone that you'd like to say thanks to or just give a shout out to for supporting you throughout your pageant journey?
Wow, there's a very long list. But firstly, I would like to say thank you to my sponsor, R&R Fit, who sponsored me originally for the Power Pageant, because without his sponsorship, which is my sponsorship, I wouldn't be sat here now. My friends, my family, they support me in everything that I do. So I can't even express how grateful I am for their support. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any idea what the final 10 questions are?
Yeah, I've got an idea. I have seen previously some videos, so I'm going to be honest.
It's so funny because no matter how many interviews I did in Australia, every time I ask someone, have you seen the final 10 question, everyone would be like, no. Now that I've started interviewing more in the UK, not only do people know what they are, they've been ringing their friends around, like asking for help to answer the questions, like saying, oh my God, what is my favorite word? I'm like, don't you know what your favorite? Anyway. All right, let's go into this, and we'll pretend it's spontaneous, minimal preparation. So number one, what is your off the cuff? Number one, what is your favorite word?
Wow, at the moment, I would say that my favorite word obviously is global, because I'm so excited. But I do have a favorite phrase, which do take the mick a little bit out of me for. When I'm very self-assured of something, I always say the phrase 100%. So
with that exact 100%, not 100%, 100%.
100%.
How often does this phrase come out from you? Is it once a day, once a week, once every minute?
Too much. I don't even realize I'm saying it. So you'll probably go back and look over this interview, and I've probably said it 6 times.
So out of the times that Emma says 100%, how many times does she actually write?
Oh, well.
I know exactly what that means. It means not 100% and probably nowhere near it. Okay. Question 2. What is your least favorite word?
A hard one. I would say probably the connotations towards the word failure.
Hmm.
The word failure, I just think it's such a harsh word, and I think anything we do at life, I don't like the thought of failing something as such. And I know if you break down, a lot of people say that if you look at failure as first attempt in learning, and that
Oh wow, I've never heard that one before.
Much better, yeah. So that's kind of how I like to look at failing.
That's very cool. First attempt in learning. Okay, I've got to commit that one to memory. Question 3. In life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
What turns me on? I think it would be my volunteer work at the moment. So it's something I'm very passionate about, and when I can see I'm making a difference, especially in the group setting that I have been working in, I feel so self-fulfilled, and yeah, it's really rewarding, and that's what makes me happy.
Has that always been something that has motivated you, helping others and giving to others? Because obviously you've mentioned a few things, including social enterprises, and all of it is aimed at giving back and helping the planet. Has that been something that's always been core to who you are?
Definitely. It's something I'm very, very passionate about.
Okay. Question 4. What turns you off?
I think it's just negativity in general.
I can't imagine you have many negative people left in your life.
No, but those who are, I think it can be quite draining. So yeah.
It's easier just to get rid of them. Question 5. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh. I think that would actually have to be, to a lot of people's surprise, my alarm in the morning.
Oh wow! Now that is
I'm
a
being
first.
that person. Yeah. I have the song, not the song, the ringtone where it's like a harp. So it's quite
Yes, I
relaxing.
do.
Yeah, and I think hearing that first thing in the morning, although sometimes, but most of the time, I am excited to get up. I'm quite an early bird person, usually, most of the time.
You started off from up here and you gradually bringing it down. And Ronya has said you're 100%. After that, she's written a smiley face, and then she's written 50%. So she thinks your 100% is 50%. So
yeah.
Okay. Question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I think when I was little, I probably would have said the ability to talk to animals, because I was really jealous of Dr. Dolittle, and I wanted to believe
Horse
that
whisperer.
somehow I would get these powers to be able to speak to animals, but somehow that just never happened.
I mean, look, I talk to my cat all the time. But I don't know if he understands. I like to think he does.
Oh, he probably. But
the
now,
look on his face suggests otherwise.
The ability to stop time, probably.
So if you were able to stop time right now, what would you do?
Stop time, maybe grab a coffee and then come back.
Small goals. We have small goals. I got so thrown off, I just realized by your answer to the favorite sound being alarm clock, I didn't ask you the other question, which is what sound or noise do you hate?
Have you ever seen the video of
I don't know where this is going.
of the dog Fenton and his owner? Have you ever? I'm going to have to send you this video afterwards. Well, basically, I have 2 little dogs, Caesar and Tilly, and I love them dearly, but they can be quite naughty. And sometimes they do have Fenton moments when they're off their leads. So in the Fenton video, this guy is calling his dog, and then you could just see all these deer running, and then you can see that he's calling his dog because his dog is running after these deer, and he's like screaming, running towards the dog. So it's probably myself calling out to Caesar and Tilly, very, very high pitched, screaming, running after them. I'm like, oh, that would just sound horrible.
So your least favorite sound is yourself?
It's myself screaming. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. It makes me cringe. I think, oh gosh.
Well, if I ever gave out an award for the best answers to those two sound questions, I think you'd easily take it. Okay, now that I've got to remember where I'm up to. Question 8. Yeah, I've done question 7. Question 8. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
I think if I could have my time again, I'd like to be a surgeon.
So not afraid of blood, not afraid of needles? Here's a question. Do you have any unusual phobias? Because I asked this question on my Instagram and I cannot believe the array of answers I got. Do you have any unusual phobias?
No, I think I'm really
good.
Afraid of spiders or snakes or rats or
balloons.
I'm fine.
The most common answer has been balloons.
Balloons? Oh.
So much so that I looked up the actual name, and it actually has a designated name. It's called globophobia. Somewhat ironically, not global phobia, but globophobia is the fear of balloons.
Interesting. Don't have any phobias as such.
Fair enough. I'm actually relieved to hear that. Someone who doesn't have a phobia. Question 9. What job or occupation other than your own would you definitely not like to attempt?
That would definitely be an air hostess. Yeah. I love traveling, but I am terrified of flying. Every little movement, I'm like, what's happening? You know, I can't stand roller coasters or anything where, you know, your tummy drops. That feeling. Yeah. So I would not be a very good air hostess.
So who's a lucky person who gets to sit next to you on the flight over to Mexico then?
Ooh, Freya or Ashley. Ooh.
I wonder which one of them would be more reassuring. I don't think either of those two are particularly reassuring. They're both tough as nails. You might just have to deal with it yourself.
Yeah, tough love.
Yeah, no, those two are very, very tough. Okay, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I don't think he or she would have to
I've sometimes said
say anything. I think as long as my friends and family and loved ones who've passed away were just waiting there on my pets, I think it wouldn't need to be any words.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, that is about it. I am going to thank you for your time, Emma, and best of luck in the months leading up to Global.
Yeah.
And I'm going to thank everyone for watching. I'll keep you on the line for just a second, Emma. I'll let the audience go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for telling me that Emma's 100% is actually 50%. And we will speak to you next time.
Hey guys, it's Adrian again. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to head over to pageantlaunch.com and join the launch team for our pageant review site. All you need to do is put in your email address. Thanks, and speak to you next time.